Let's kick off with our great friend, Jonathan Davis, economist and wealth manager. Hello, Jonathan. Morning.
Good morning, Vanessa.
So do you agree with Danny Alexander that morally both parties, the benefit dodger and the tax avoider, are equally corrupt, are equally culpable, are equally deserving of our disdain and our distaste?
Danny Alexander is a politician, so he's talking to the populace. The tax system is designed for the benefit of very wealthy people and international organizations. Take that as read. There are extremely wealthy people who pay not a great deal of tax. Mm-hmm. There are major international companies. Vodafone was all over the news. It made billions of profits. It paid hardly any tax. All the banks in the City of London, they make vast profits. You never see them paying much taxes. The tax system is not designed for you or me.
Now, what does that mean? Does that mean there should be an immediate overhaul of the tax system? It should be changed. It should be made so elementary, so basic, so immediately comprehensible that nobody could do anything clever to twiddle around with it?
One of the reasons why we have economic stagnation or depression, as you've heard me say on your show before, is because much of the money that the government raises in taxes is going to bail out the vastly wealthy, whether it be in tax reductions for them or their businesses, or indeed the bankers. If we moved our taxation system from taxing wealth creation, in other words, income tax and corporation tax, to taxing non-wealth creation, in other words, property and such assets, then I tell you, there'd be a great deal more money for you and me and for public services.
Gosh, well, this is revolutionary and fairly unthinkable, isn't it?
Au contraire, it's been discussed for centuries. It's never happened because it doesn't help the people who are in the clique of the political and financial and media elites.
Wouldn't it just kind of precipitate a property selling frenzy in which absolutely everyone would get rid of the property and then sublet it under another name as somebody else so they didn't own it and it couldn't be said to be written in the books as an asset? I mean, you can tell I'm not an accountant by my elementary grasp of this kind of thing, but am I not saying exactly what would happen if property became a taxable asset? Wouldn't everyone just sell and rent?
If property became taxable, we would be able to unleash vast sums of money for improving the state of society, improving our economic prowess, and improving our competitiveness in the world. The fact is, think of all the people who have made vast fortunes in property, nothing against it, but to suggest that no one gets involved in tax avoidance, simply living in a home for the last 50 years has been in effect tax avoidance. The fact is, millions and millions of folk have benefited from it, but not even close to how much the vastly wealthy have benefited even more.
However, if a property is not your primary residence, you do have to pay tax when you sell it if you make a profit on it, don't you? And if you're not selling it, you're inhabiting it. If for example you're renting it out, you have to pay tax on the rent that you receive for it, don't you? So the only property you're allowed to inhabit and not pay any tax on is your home, and you have to pay stamp duty when you buy it in the first place. I mean, I think people will think, oh my goodness, we pay council tax on our homes. We have to take out massive mortgages that usually take our entire lives long to pay off. What the heck is this Jonathan Davis talking about?
Yeah, I was reading in the paper at the weekend about some vastly wealthy individual, no names, no packdrawl, but everyone knows this individual, and he has homes all over the world. Those other properties aren't taxed.
But isn't that because of the individual tax system of those different countries?
And that's the point. And the UK is as much a tax haven for the super wealthy and international organisations as the Cayman Islands, as British Virgin Islands in certain aspects. You've quoted a couple of cases that are in the news today.
So your title, Jonathan, is, as we call you, you may correct me if you'd rather be called something else, like my lord or sir or anything else, but it says on my screen anyway, economist and wealth manager, which would lead me to believe that you are one of those people whose job involves helping the very wealthy to pay less tax. Is that right?
Absolutely.
Is.
That's one of the things that I do. Absolutely.
And can you explain, I mean, obviously you're not going to undersell your achievements. Is it fairly easy to outwit the taxman? Is it incredibly difficult? Do you have to come up with more and more ingenious schemes and wheezes every year? I mean, how kind of routine is it to be able to say to somebody very wealthy, oh, now look, you're paying too much tax. All you really need to do is this, this and this. If you invest, as you say, in the Cayman Islands, or you go into one of these K2 schemes, or you put your money offshore, or any one of a number of different things, you'll pay only an infinitesimal fraction of the tax you're paying already.
Yeah. The tax rule book is so complicated. In fact, Gordon Brown made our tax rule book one of the most complicated in the world. And when there are so many complications, there are obviously going to be so many loopholes. As I say, you've got cases there where multimillionaires are saving millions in pounds. For the average individual who's earning, say, £50,000 a year, average household in the southeast, put money into a pension. You'll get 20, 40, 50% tax relief. In effect, tax-free growth. Put money into an individual savings account. It's tax-free. No, there are lots of ways of saving tax. And many of them are publicly made available by the taxman. They're so simple for the average person. For the super wealthy, yes, you get a little bit more complex, but you know what? Not that much more complex. Not really.
Really? Now, I mean, you are a wealth manager, as you say, so you do help the very wealthy pay less tax. So does this mean that you are an aider and abetter and are effectively morally bankrupt and should be judged with the same sternness and the same immense dislike as a benefit fraudster?
I'm a capitalist. Unlike the vast majority of people in this country, I believe that when companies, for example, have failed businesses and they're losing money hand over fist, they should go bankrupt. They should not be bailed out by the rest of us who are making money and paying taxes as it happens. So as a capitalist, all I'm doing is what's available to me. What I'm not doing is using the system to get bailed out, even though I have a bankrupt business.
Well, thank you very much for joining us. That's Jonathan Davis, the economist and wealth manager. He says it's pretty easy, really, to save the very wealthy tax. It's not that difficult to save some tax yourself if you've got some money. If you've got a household income of £50,000 a year, you may be thinking, God, £50,000, I wish I did.